Hello, everybody. Tracy Mrs. JDog Flanagan with you here today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president at JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tactical Treasures podcast, powered by the JDog Foundation. Our podcast gives veterans, active duty members, mil spouses, military family members, and patriotic military supporters a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they're affecting their communities post-service, and they share with me a tactical treasure that has helped them in their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I am so pleased to have with me Laura Gilman and Michael Negrete. Laura Gilman is the Director of External Partnerships at Mobius Mobility. Her role there revolves around connecting with nonprofits who help support funding as well as creating relationships with organizations who help people with mobility needs. Laura values the ability to go to work every day for a company that focuses on bettering people's quality of life. Michael Negrete is a Marine Corps and Coast Guard veteran, having collectively served for 10 years during the Cold War and Persian Gulf War eras. He is now the founder and creative director at WebDNA, a graphic design, branding, and marketing company. In the Marine Corps, Michael earned 2 meritorious promotions, and in the Coast Guard, he graduated from 2 inter-service schools, the Navy Electronic Warfare School and the Air Force NCO Academy, where he also received the Academy's Air Force Citizenship Award for exemplary professionalism and leadership. In 2001, Michael sustained a cervical spine cord injury resulting in incomplete quadriplegia. Through this experience, Michael has long believed in making a positive difference in the lives of veterans and the disabled living with spinal cord injuries and disorders. Shortly after his injury, he helped establish the New Hampshire chapter of the National Spinal Cord Injury Association, now United Spinal. He also served as a chapter president for Paralyzed Veterans of America, as well as on the board of directors and as a national vice president, where he received PVA's Dwayne Taylor Award for voluntary service, recognizing his exceptional contributions to PVA and its mission. After 2 decades of national advocacy efforts, Michael has now shifted his efforts to assisting those in his local New Hampshire communities through hands-on grassroots activities and speaking events where he's able to share the knowledge and experience he's gained. Hello, Laura and Michael. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited for our discussion. And Michael, thank you so much for your service to our country, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay, so what an incredible bio. And Michael, I just love all the pictures that you sent of this incredible iBot wheelchair that has obviously made such a difference in your life and in the life of disabled people, veterans, and civilians. So, but before we get into talking about that, I would love to know, Michael, what inspired you to join the Marine Corps and then, continue your service in the Coast Guard. I would love you to share your story there.
Sure. Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to share my story with you, and hopefully someone out there can garner a little nugget or two that might benefit them. But yeah, I chose to join the military after going to college for a year or so, but coming from a long history of family that served in the military. My father was in-country Vietnam veteran. My grandfather served in World War I and World War II.
Mhm.
And I've got numerous other family members that served in the military. And so I chose to join the military myself. And kind of an interesting story is how I chose the Marines. As I went down in the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine, all the recruiters' offices were lined up one next to the other. And so naturally, I gravitated towards the Marine Corps simply because they had the best looking uniform. And so that's how I wound up going to the Marine Corps. And
Oh, I love it.
I distinctly remember after I enlisted, I called my dad, who was overseas at the time, and he was a unit commander in the Air Force. And so I told him I joined the service, and he seemed fairly proud. And he assumed that I joined the Air Force like he did. But I said, "Oh yeah, I joined the Marines." I could hear on the other end of the phone says, "Oh, so, but I think he's been pretty proud of my service both in the Marine Corps and the Coast Guard. And Like you mentioned, I did serve in the Marine Corps as an infantryman, and later transitioned into the Coast Guard, and two different missions entirely. But
Sure.
I served the majority of my time in the Coast Guard, doing a variety of things from search and rescue, maritime law enforcement. Towards the end of my career, as you mentioned, I graduated from the Navy Electronic Warfare School, so I spent most of my time doing electronic intelligence in a variety of places where I was deployed aboard Coast Guard ships and worked along with the naval ships as well.
Wow. Wow. That's great. I love that story. What a great story. Is there a particular aspect or moment from your service that stood out as impactful for you in a positive way?
I think for myself, resiliency, but I've always appreciated a quote from President Theodore Roosevelt, and that's he said, do what you can where you're at with what you have. And I've always looked at everything that I've done, regardless whether I was in the military, in a variety of roles, or even after I separated from the military. There's always something that you can do with what you have, with where you're at, and it doesn't have to be a Herculean effort. It could be a small
Hmm.
gesture or something just very simple, or it can be something of a big magnitude as well. But there's always something you can do to help make a positive difference in someone's life. And a lot of times there's things that you do that you don't even realize that it made an impact on someone until later on in
Sure.
life. So you just never know. Someone could be having a bad day, and just a simple smile and hello, and acknowledge them can make the world a difference to them.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. So, Laura, how did you make your way to Mobius Mobility as the Director of External Partnerships?
I am very, very active in the nonprofit world as a volunteer. I serve on several boards. I'm an animal lover, so I help a lot of dog rescues locally, as well as humanitarian efforts. And before I worked here, I owned a talent agency. I used to manage performers who traveled the nation and performed on television and in Vegas. And just shortly after COVID, Dean came in, the inventor of the iBot, came up with a wild idea to drive across the country and donate 50 iBot power wheelchairs to VA hospitals and veterans across the nation. And he didn't know how he was going to go about doing that. And so I was well versed in getting entertainers across the country and setting up tours and hiring drivers and acquiring insurance and writing press releases. And so I sort of became the talent agent to the iBot. And it was a wonderful opportunity for me because I got to not only combine my passion for helping people, but also utilize that in a job that was helping to be part of a team that was doing some pretty great things for human beings.
Right. And how long have you been with Mobility?
3 years.
3 years. Wow, that's great. So, Michael, you now have this amazing iBot Mobius chair. I would love to know how much it's made a difference in your life.
It's made a significant difference, not only in mine, but I always like to add in my wife, who's my primary caregiver, because there's some aspects of
Right.
using a power chair over a manual chair that
Hmm.
benefits her as well. But
Sure.
um, for I've been injured for over 20 plus years, and for the majority of
Hmm.
that, I used a manual wheelchair. And initially, after I was injured, there's a tendency for someone that has a high level injury like myself, quadriplegia, which simply means that I have some impairment in all four limbs,
Hmm.
arms and legs. And so typically a power chair is a way an individual with that high level of injury would ambulate and get around. Uh,
Right.
but at the time, the power chairs that I saw, they would get you from point A to point B, but there's a lot of obstacles in between, and they just couldn't overcome those challenges. So I decided to use a manual wheelchair with some power assistive devices that have come out over the years, simply because it allowed me a little bit more independence and overcome those challenges a little bit easier than a typical power chair would do. And we're talking things like getting over curbs, or cobblestone. Sometimes that's a challenge, but So for a lot of years, I used the manual chair, and then saw the iBot, the latest generation of it, at one of the events that Laura mentioned at the West Roxbury VA Hospital. And I really saw how it checked the boxes of what a power chair could do for me. And some of those things are overcoming, again, curves, being able to get up and down where there's not a curb cut out. You would think they were everywhere, but they're not.
Right.
One of the
Yeah.
greater challenges is in New England, it snows a lot. So typical power chair is not going to be able to easily get through snow, whereas in
Mhm.
the iBot, it's got four-wheel drive. It can easily navigate that, as well as being I say, a weatherproof type of power chair. It's able to get wet, unlike other power chairs. They have some concerns, the manufacturers might say, about not getting those devices wet, but it allows me to go out terrain, hiking trails. I can get out on the beach. It just doesn't restrict anything that I can do. Wherever I travel, I don't have to worry about, and I travel frequently, I don't have to worry about at my destination, is there going to be an obstacle that prevents me from getting where I want to go? And those could be simply a sidewalk that's been closed off for construction. Typically, in a power chair, I'd have to have some assistance from my wife to jump the curb and go around it. Or if you're in a power chair, that's simply not an option. You're gonna have to navigate to find a curb cutout or a place where you can get down off the curb and go around and get back.
Right.
But the iBot allows me to go up and down those curbs with ease, and that's in the four-wheel mode. And then the other thing that's really a benefit is it's able to elevate. I'm sure you've seen Segways, but it allows you to elevate to see folks at eye to eye level, which is
Yeah, that picture was amazing, showing you, kind of how the wheels go on top of each other and you're all elevated. That's amazing.
yeah, yeah. So it allows you to interact with everyone at eye to eye level. For the past 20 plus years, I've only been 30 plus inches high, and you're always looking up at everyone.
Sure,
And
sure.
there's some challenges with that. Some of the big things for myself as a traveler, and I mentioned that I like to go to concerts or Broadway shows, but concerts in particular, someone in a wheelchair, you sit down, and the first thing everyone does when the stage performers come out is they all stand up. So
Right.
of course you're looking at the backsides of everyone, but the iBot itself has the ability to overcome that by raising itself up, so you're at eye level with everyone else. And I've
Yeah,
been to a few
that's
concerts
great.
really that I've been in the audience, and folks are sitting behind me or standing behind me, and to their surprise, I elevate myself, and so now I'm at their level. But they have a little bit of impression of what it's like to have somebody blocking their view. So kind of a
Yeah.
tongue in cheek type of thing.
Ah, that's
Hello,
funny.
viewers and listeners. Are you a military veteran or military family member and looking to own your own business? If so, go to jdog.com and check out our two veteran focused franchises, JDog Junk Removal and Hauling and JDog Carpet Cleaning and Floor Care. Our franchisees nationwide are always looking to hire fellow veterans and patriots. JDog is the world's largest military franchise system with hundreds of locations nationwide. We are nearly 90% veteran owned with the goal of reducing the veteran unemployment rate to under 1%. Check us out. Go to jdog.com to learn more. Now, back to the podcast.
How long have you had the iBot?
I've had that iBot going almost on 3 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so from what I understand, in our previous discussion, this there are VA organizations that will cover the cost of this iBot chair. How does all of that work?
Yeah, so for me, I saw the iBot as a mobility device that I think would benefit me in a variety of different ways. The other thing I didn't mention is in the power chair, you ambulate with your arms, and they're not really designed for that for your lifetime. So my shoulders are a little bit wore out as well. But so I saw
Sure.
that and went through and got an evaluation, and my physician signed off on it. Went through the therapist to do a seating eval with it. But the VA covers all of my medical costs and expenses. So there's no out of pocket expense to myself to do that. And West Roxbury, I think, is pretty forward thinking and progressive VA. They're not all the same throughout the country.
Mm.
Every VA operates a little bit differently. Unfortunately, they're not unilaterally
Right.
operating the same way. So, but they saw that as a benefit to me and the quality of my life, and so they signed off on that. And there's processes with major medical, it gets signed off, and then you get the IBOT, but they cover all the expenses for it. But not all VAs are like that. Some don't see it as much as a benefit, and I think that's where my experience working with Laura is. Those veterans that have challenges in getting an IBOT, she's able to provide avenues where they can get them by other means, and I'll let her touch on those.
Yes, Laura, please touch on those. So I also understand that if there's not a VA option to assist, that Mobius Mobility will step in and assist. Can you just explain a little bit of how that works?
Sure. So we have what's called a CRADA with the VA healthcare system. It basically means that they have approved the purchase of iBots for any veteran who is medically appropriate and eligible for the device. As Michael said, every VA works differently. They may say, because you're an amputee, you don't need a power wheelchair, so that makes you ineligible. And then there are others that say you're an amputee and you should have the opportunity to be off your prosthetics and have a power wheelchair. So oftentimes what will happen is if you go to your VA and they say, we don't think you're an eligible candidate for coverage for the iBot, the veterans then come back to Mobius and say, we really want to pursue this device, but our VA healthcare is not going to approve us for payment. And so at that point, we have worked with and narrowed down several nonprofits across the nation who support veterans in gaining better access to mobility devices, fulfilling their healthcare needs, etc. And so we point those veterans in the right direction and help them navigate through the application processes. It's something they have to do on their own. We can't submit on their behalf
Right.
or to rally for them. And so we are familiar with the application processes through most of these nonprofits. And so if you're having a hard time or you have questions, we're happy to help. And then we sort of push you through the motions to apply to those places. And then from there, we also have resources to help people who want to finance. So if maybe they can only pay for a portion of the device through funding, you can take out a loan through several different financial institutions. And then we have a couple of other options too to help people with supplemental funding.
Oh, wow. How much does an iBot cost?
Sure. So
I'm
it,
sure
it
it's
really
pretty
depends on your
pricey.
insurance coverage. They actually are not, when you hear the price because you're not a wheelchair user, you may think
Hmm.
it sounds like a lot of money. They're in about the $45,000 range.
Wow.
But if you look at other power wheelchairs, like the one that Michael mentioned earlier, that maybe is not water resistant and doesn't go through snow and doesn't climb curbs,
Right.
they still can cost upward of $80,000.
Wow.
And so we do have supplemental insurance coverage. Let's say a veteran still carries private insurance and doesn't seek their care at the VA. We have private insurance companies that pay for iBots, that partial pay for iBots. Medicare does cover some of the cost of iBots as well.
Okay. All right. So a couple different options to help with the expense of it. That's
Yes.
awesome. We come to the time where I have to ask you both. And Laura, I'll start with you. Uh, what is your tactical treasure? What would you like to share with us today?
Um, I think you mentioned it in my introduction, but I'm very fortunate that I work for a company that helps people. But even more fortunate that I get to interact with people like Michael, the heroes of our nation, which is really really cool. I get a little choked up when I think about Michael popping up into balance mode to salute the flag. It's
Oh,
it's pretty amazing. So I think my tactical treasure is that I get to be involved with veterans, with active duty military, hear their stories, and that I make a small step in helping them get to what they need.
that's a great tactical treasure. And yeah, being a part of the veteran space and just being able to help our veterans just means so much. And to me as well, being a part of JDog and what we do here, it's just very rewarding to be able to help and be a part of making a difference in a veteran's life because they give so much for our country. So I totally agree with you there. That's a wonderful tactical treasure.
Thank you.
Michael, what is your tactical treasure? Now, I know you had that saying that means a lot to you. Is that your tactical treasure, or is there something else you would want to
No,
share?
I would say like at the top of the top of the podcast is do what you can with what you have with where you're at, and that you can apply that to any aspect of your life. And I've really held that closely throughout my entire life. That no matter what, there's always something you can do to make a positive impact on another individual's life, and I think that's why we're here, and that's to make a difference.
Hmm.
And I've always uh, cherished the opportunities that have been given to me to make those differences, whether it's been working at a national level for a large veteran service organization or a small grassroots organization itself, or even just one-on-one meeting with individuals that are out there that may be newly injured and looking for some mentorship or some advice that maybe I can impart with them. And but I'm always on the flip side as well. I'm always open to learning new things from other folks that are out there as well. Absorb the knowledge that I can from everyone else, and just that I have the opportunities to share that with everyone else. Again,
Yeah.
simply to make a positive difference in their lives.
That's awesome. That's a great tactical treasure. And you, sir, are certainly quite an inspiration after all that you've been through and that you are so involved in giving back and wanting to make a difference. It's quite an inspiration and very motivating. I would ask, Laura, so what if there are veterans that are watching this podcast and they're thinking, wow, this is an awesome device. I really want to try to investigate getting one of these iBots. How would they begin the process? Where does it start? Kind of take me through maybe the first couple steps of how they would even begin to forge this pathway to be able to get this device.
I would encourage them to give me a call. We're a very small team. We're about 20 people. And normally, the way we like to start the process is have people give us a shout. We can talk
Okay.
about the different things the iBot does and does not do and make sure that it's a vaguely good fit for what the person is looking for in enhancing their life or changing their quality of life. And then once we've figured that out, we look at where you are based out of, and we're able to point you in the right direction to a VA that maybe has an iBot. So you can go there physically, get in it, try it out, see it work, see if it's the right thing for you. And then once you've decided that you are going to move forward in pursuing an iBot, if you are a veteran who receives your health care through the VA, you go to your VA and you request a power mobility assessment. You ask them to assess that you're a good candidate for a power wheelchair. And once approved for that, that's the point where you mention, I'm interested in pursuing the iBot. And then there's a medical process through the VA that you would follow. If you are a veteran who does not use VA healthcare, or would prefer not to go through the VA, that's also another spot where we're going to be able to help you. Once we've been able to determine that we think this is a good fit for you, we're going to help you start working on looking for funding resources and figuring out ways to get your device paid for.
Okay, that's great. Great information. We'll make sure we get the word out that it starts with uh, Mobius Mobility. Contact them. That's great. Um, so, Michael, this has been awesome. Speaking to you guys and being able to get the word out about this amazing wheelchair, and it's been awesome, Michael, to hear what a difference it's made in your life and allowing you to get to places that you never would have imagined you've been able to get to. But before you go, Michael, do you have maybe one piece of advice for veterans who are getting out and maybe struggling with transitioning into regular life, or maybe have issues and just having a tough time getting their feet on the ground post service?
Sure, I would definitely say reach out to your brothers and sisters in arms that are transitioning out themselves, or get in touch with a local veteran service organization. There's a wealth of information that they can provide you, whether that's employment, or maybe you're having some challenges with your mental health. But there's just a variety of veteran service organizations that are there to help you move in the direction that you want to move to, and also shoulders to lean on when you need it as well.
Great. That's great advice. And Laura, so where can people find and connect with you if they are interested in going the iBot route? Is there an email that you would share with us where people can reach out to you and say, I want this iBot? How do I go about it?
Absolutely. They can go to our website, which is www.mobiusmobility.com, and
Uh-huh.
submit an inquiry there, and someone will call them back pretty quickly. They
Okay.
also can call our 800 number. It's 1-833 3GO IBOT. So GOIBOT.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for sharing that information. Guys, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all that you did and sharing your very special tactical treasures. This has been amazing. Thank you for your time.
Sure, it's been my pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Hello, viewers and listeners. We've just finished up an amazing conversation with Laura Gilman, Director of External Partnerships at Mobius Mobility, and Michael Negrete, a Marine Corps and Coast Guard veteran and the founder and creative director at WebDNA, a graphic design, branding, and marketing company. Michael is the recipient of the Mobius Mobility iBot, which is an electric wheelchair like no other. In the past, the iBot has been known only as the stair climbing wheelchair. This newer model iBot has 6 available modes, all in one device: standard, 4-wheel, balance, stair, remote, and as a seat in a motor vehicle with easy lock docking or 4-point tie down. The iBot navigates varied terrain: sand, snow, grass, gravel, uneven surfaces, as well as driving indoors. The iBot has the ability to climb 5-inch obstacles such as curbs, and allows more activities of daily living to be performed independently. For veterans, obtaining an iBot through the VA or community care is a process that Mobius Mobility can help with. They have created digital roadmaps to help veterans achieve freedom of mobility. To learn more about the iBot, go to Mobius Mobility, and Mobius is spelled Mobius, mobiusmobility.com. And for veterans, click on the Veterans tab to find out about the organizations that can assist. Just to add a disclaimer, Michael Negrete does not receive any compensation from Mobius Mobility. He is a happy customer who was willing to share with us how the Mobius Mobility iBot has made a positive impact in his daily life. Again, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget you can find Tactical Treasures podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, as well as Vet TV, American Grit, and our dedicated YouTube channel. We are now airing on Reach Across America Radio on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, and if you missed that, be sure to join us for the encore on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can also find Reach Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. We are also proud to share that our JDog Foundation is a Reach Across America sponsorship group. For each $17 veterans wreath that you sponsor, $5 goes directly back to the JDog Foundation, whose mission is to prevent veteran suicide and heal veterans' mental health and PTSD. You can donate right now at reachacrossamerica.org/JDog. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again on another podcast real soon. Bye-bye now.